Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, The Truth About DataCaps and What the Cable Company Doesn't Want Us to Know. My name is Claudia Kraft, and I'm the moderator for today's webinar, and thank you for joining us today. The format of our webinar will include a 20-minute presentation followed by a 10-minute question and answer period, and we will conclude with the drawing for the Kindle Fire at the end of the presentation. In order to participate in the drawing, you have to be an active attendee, so we recommend you stay with us for the entire webinar. Before we begin the presentation portion of today's webinar, I would like to point out that you will be able to ask us questions using the chat box on the left side of your screen, and we will answer those questions at the end of the webinar. This webinar will also be recorded and emailed to you at the end of the webinar. All the questions that we won't be able to answer right now within the webinar, we will take our time and email you the questions the answers to the questions afterwards. At this time, I would like to present our presenters of the day. Chris Rayburn is our Marketing Director here at Alaska Communications, and with him presenting is David Bird, who is our Senior Product Manager here at Alaska.
Thank you, Claudia, and welcome everyone. For those that have joined us before and previous, and I've seen the list and know there are a few that have, this is our first time in a new format, the 30-minute format. We're trying to vary it up based on some feedback that we've gotten from past iterations of the webinar format. So we're trying some new format methods, and we appreciate you joining us and appreciate you being patient as we work through a new format that was suggested by you all. We're going to start with a quick poll just to set the understanding level as to where we are in terms of understanding what our overall data use is. So to start with, let's just see how much we know as a group about our overall data usage as a company. And the question that we've got phrased for you today is, how much data does your company use every month? Is it 15 gig, 60 gig, 110 gig, 175, or 250? If you could take the time to please respond, we'd appreciate it. Okay, some responses are rolling in. It looks like we have some reasonable level understanding as to what our data use is. Okay. The responses we got back about half the respondents have responded, and it looks as though there's some pretty high data users here, but a lot kind of in the middle to mid-range. Of course, when we look at the average user typically doesn't know how much data they're typically using. And we get this question all the time, and we try to respond to it with some actual fact-based usage. But the truth is that a majority of businesses aren't really aware of how much data they use on a monthly basis. Some of it's all over the map. And the reason that we suspect that is that, like most businesses, they typically just want to connect with customers, focus on their business, rather than counting the data use and understanding, specifically what applications are driving that. And the truth is, when it comes to what data use really looks like, the only time that the customers are thinking about what internet service use is when something goes wrong. When there's no reliability in the internet, when the speed is slow, or when it's costing more than you expect. These are all negative reinforcers. At the end of the day, rather than asking questions about, why is my internet slow, why is my internet down, or why is it costing me more than I expect it to, most businesses want to be in the world of, understanding business apps that are going to help them do business, understanding how those applications can connect them with more customers and run their operations more efficiently. That's really what we want to talk about. What we want to do is make sure that businesses can get beyond what data caps are and how data caps can restrict their opportunity to do business with customers, and get into how to use data to more efficiently serve customers and to get more done. And that's really what we hear from businesses and what we want to convey with our product suite. So since we're talking about the applications that are driving the use of data, and we kind of don't know how much which ones amongst our respondents here typically use, let's do one more poll to understand or get a rough proxy for what applications we're using. So as we're looking at the applications that we use, really what are we using? Is it video conferencing? Is it Google applications? Is it cloud-based services, document management? If we could respond, because that really sets a stage for what's driving all that data use. So if you could take a moment to respond, we'd appreciate it. Okay, a lot in document management, that's obviously a big one. Cloud-based services is emerging. That's a big one that we hear an awful lot in terms of where businesses want to use data more and more. Video conferencing, video streaming, that's another one that's both emerging as well as a large data user. So as we're looking at who's on the call today and what the data uses are, the applications that we've talked about or the applications that you all are using are highly intensive data type applications that drive a lot of that use. So I can suspect there's a high correlation between those that are doing the document management, those that are doing the video conferencing and streaming, and those that were reporting the 150 or 250 gig levels of use. So not surprisingly, when you go to the actual usage of data, the actual usage of data reflects pretty well, from a market standpoint, the sorts of uses that you're all seeing. Of course, the one that everyone talks about and is universal is company email and office productivity applications. Obviously, those are moving more and more online and getting more and more interconnected. And we see that that's kind of the table stakes usage or the usage that we all know about. But the things that are emerging that are heavy users of data, and where we're seeing the growth as business users are using more and more data, are around the things that this group is already starting to latch on. The ability to work remotely is a huge one. This market as well as any other market, the ability to be in multiple places at once, connected through the internet is a critical component to being able to do business, particularly in a small business where there are people that are wearing multiple hats, where you're not having one functional role, but the head of sales is also the head of customer service, is also the head of operations. That's a big one. The other ones that are getting a lot more usage is the document management, and we find this in a lot of professional services firms. If you're a law office or if you're an architecture firm, the sorts of documentation that routinely has to go back and forth in order to get the fundamental operation of that business done is one that is chewing up more and more and more data as time goes by, as the details on these documents get better, and as ultimately the files that they're associated with get larger. So we're seeing what this group is already seeing, that businesses are evolving to more data-intensive applications that better support the business. And at the end of the day, that's why you want to be worried about what applications are going to support your fundamental business line rather than how much data you're using and concerned about that level. So let's take a look at a practical example in terms of how much data we really use. What you see here on the right is the rank order of the data usage by application. Obviously, we talked about video streaming and video conferencing being heavy users of data. Those businesses, if you're in a media-based business like a television production house or a magazine production house, there's an awful lot of media-based data usage. But even beyond that, it doesn't take very far to understand that if you've got remote users or if you're downloading large-scale documents or sharing documents, there's going to be an awful lot of data use. And the example that I typically go back to as a typical business, and it's a pretty simple example. If you're an office that, as an office, does 250 inbound, outbound emails a day, which is not a whole lot, 60 of those emails are emails with attachments of varying size, at average just underneath a meg. You've got 8 combined hours online in online applications, maybe they're cloud-based applications, and then you've got 2 hours combined throughout that office in media. Maybe it's a teleconference, maybe it's streaming media, but 2 hours across applications. If you add those sorts of applications up, what that adds to on a monthly usage basis is somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 gigs of data. The interesting thing about that is that that's not a really high level of activity. There are individual businesses that are doing that level of activity. Once you get in terms of a multiple user or an office of 3 or 4 or more, you're easily going over that 60 gig level if those are the sorts of routine applications that you're using, right? So to answer the question, what are data caps and what they're really doing to us, simply put, data cap is the amount of data you're paying for when you're paying for your internet service. Ultimately, that's what it represents. When you pay your monthly bill, it's the amount of data that you can access. As we've seen it in the Alaskan market, a basic business package gives about 15 gigs. The standard package, but maybe the mean or average package, is somewhere in that 60 gig level. So if we take a look at what that previous example of overall business usage looks like in a not an atypical office, but a pretty modest office use environment, this sort of usage, you're going to be hitting that cap pretty reliably. So a lot of business, we get the sense that a lot of business are getting to their data caps pretty regularly. We see a lot of people talk to us about overages that get into the hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and that's really what we're talking about. An example, a comment just came in, 750 megs of incoming outgoing email yesterday just for us. That's a pretty high user environment, but that's not atypical. I mean, that's a lot, but that's not atypical of what modern businesses are doing. And if you're in a professional services sort of environment, if you're in a law office or if you're in media or if you're in an architecture environment, that's really not atypical to what customers are seeing, which is why this data explosion is really impacting all businesses, but particularly businesses that have caps or limitations on them, and it's doing so in a negative way. So, the truth on how it's negatively impacting on it, obviously the first hit is the bottom line, right? We talked a little bit about what businesses are looking for on their internet, and they're looking for reliability, they're looking for speed, and they're looking for certainty in terms of the cost. Those are those table stakes components. But as we look at it, data caps really strike against one of those table stakes components, right? If you can't reliably budget toward what your expected costs for internet services are, that's going to be a large problem. That strikes directly to the bottom line. But the other component on that is that the fact that you've got a data cap and a data limit means that you're not managing your business the way you want to. You're not focused on how you serve customers better. You're not focused on how you make your processes more efficient. You're not focused on how you make the work that you do better. You're focused on managing towards kind of an arbitrarily set level that hey, I can only use this much data before I start to pay by the drink. Those are the reasons when we look at what business use is, where business use for data is really going in terms of upload and download, we're looking at a different approach at Alaska Communications, and that is removing those data caps from our agreement, because at the end of the day, businesses don't want to be focused on how much data they're using on a day-in, day-out basis. They want to be focused on how well they're able to serve their customers using connectivity. And at the end of the day, the solutions that allow businesses to serve their customers better using connectivity are the ones that are going to win. And that's where we're going to transition over to the Senior Product Manager, who's Dave Baird. He's going to talk to you about what Alaska Communications does in terms of our overall business internet product, how we manage around data caps and data limits in order to make the business functionality that we know the businesses want to use available to them in a way that they want to use it. Dave?
Thanks, Chris. Good morning. Basically, we've done a bit of math analysis on data caps, what the impact really is. The bottom line is if you use the speed you purchased with the conventional cap package, you'll hit the cap on the first week of your month. which begs the question, why are you buying so much speed? Anytime you go over the data cap, as you're well aware, anybody who's hit one, you get charged for every megabyte above the cap. And for example, at a popular commercial cap rate, if you run your business 4 hours a day at 3 meg, it's going to cost you $322 a month, including the overcharges for that month. That means that the cost of your internet service becomes a variable dependent on issues beyond your control, and as Chris said, something you have to manage if you want to keep your control. What speed do you get? It turns out that the cap boxes you in a little bit. You've either got a cap situation, or you either have to manage your cap or manage your speed. And on the basis of a 21 3/4 or 2/3 work days a month on average and 8 hours per day, that gives you 173 hours a month to hit your cap. A 22 meg cap, or 22 meg speed with a 250 gig cap means your average speed for those 173 hours for your whole organization is 3.2 megabits per second. And likewise, down at 3 meg at the other extreme, you're really only getting an average speed of 0.2 meg. So the question is, why are you buying all this speed you can't use? And there's a metaphor effectively of automotive where it's like buying a Ferrari with a 1-pint gas tank. You're forced to limit your behavior on the basis of managing your budget. How can you avoid the cap? Basically, if you've got one, there's no real satisfactory solution. You could disallow specific applications on the high end of the curve that Chris talked to you about, the video applications, the large file documentation, etc. You could restrict the usage to certain employees or certain times of day, which is probably not what you want to do, or you can deploy your resources to manage and monitor your data usage on a daily basis to keep control of it, which also means that as the end of the month approaches, you are going to have to modify your behaviors. Again, that is not a good way to run a business. It imposes constraints on you on a service that you probably wouldn't consider acceptable. We've taken a bit of a different strategy with Alaska Communications. We don't have a cap. We believe that that's our problem, not yours, to manage, and that if we offer you a certain speed, we should be able to offer it to you at any time you want it. You won't pay overage fees, obviously, because there isn't a cap. We have one consistent bill each month, which should help you with your budgeting and help you with freedom from surprises. And when you buy a 10 meg service from us, or a 7 or a 4, you get 4, 7, and 10 all day, every day, anytime you need it. The key, Alaska Communications Business Internet Services, we have no data caps or overage charges, as we've said, and we're pretty firm on that. No shared lines. Our network architecture means that you have a specific communication path right back to our central office that is not shared, and therefore not shared outside your office. The resources that you purchase are shared within your office, but again, that's something within your control to manage. Outside your office, you have a pipe back to the central office and then into the internet. And we include Wi-Fi as a basic service with our product, so you can have office Wi-Fi built in. The key takeaways from our product offering: no extra cost for data. Basically, your data usage is unlimited. You could, theoretically, if you wish to download files overnight, you have that freedom to do so without any cap or constraints. No data usage monitoring or management is necessary. You get a consistent, predictable monthly bill and consistent speeds and Wi-Fi. And the prices are, before discount, are on the slide you're looking at.
Well, Chris and David, thank you so much for your presentation. If you want additional information, we invite you to visit our website at www.alaskacommunications.com/business. We have great resources in our resource center, so you're more than welcome to stop by and check them out. And let's move on to the question and answer portion of this webinar. We got quite some questions. One question came in and was asking if we provide quality service guarantees with our services, David.
Quality of service on voice calls, yes.
And how does it work? Can you guarantee that the bandwidth stays consistent, or do I share with others my bandwidth?
The bandwidth that you purchase from Alaska Communications is only shared among your own employees and yourself, not externally. And a certain quality of service, a certain amount of bandwidth is reserved for voice traffic, and the rest is for data.
What is the oversell on these services? I don't really, maybe...
Are you talking about oversubscription rate?
Yeah.
Oh, oversubscription rates depend on the bandwidth or depend on the portion in the pipe. There is no oversubscription on your path back to the central office, and within the central office, it's dependent highly on the size of the pipe and the size of the central office. So in other words, as far as you're concerned, back to our central office, there is no oversubscription.
So that's a really good question, and they're kind of related in that there's some questions about how do we provide assurance around speed and availability, particularly at peak times. And that's something that's really important to us because ultimately during the day or during those peak times is when businesses also want to use the internet for doing their regular course of business. Now, the one thing that Alaska Communications does, it provides a direct connection back to the central office. And Dave's going to correct me when I get my terminology incorrect. He does all the time. Alaska Communications provides a direct connection back to the central office instead of the prevailing model in the market, which is a shared service network where ultimately it's a long loop and everyone owns a piece of it, but they ultimately all share that bandwidth. So this is a bit of a departure, and what allows Alaska Communications to do is offer more assurance on the speed that you're actually asking for and paying for. Let's put it bluntly, paying for is the actual speed that you're getting. That and when it gets installed, there are some assurance guarantees and some checks that go in. It gets verified and regularly measured as well.
Yes, when you have our internet services installed, the person who's doing the installation will run a speed test to confirm that you can get the speed, and you're invited to run these speed tests at your convenience. That will be back to the central office. Then in addition to that, we monitor our backhaul utilization against industry standards and make sure that we're compliant.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a question about upload speeds. So if a business needs to do backups, is there anything, a business package that supplies more than 1 meg upload speed, David?
BXB at this point.
BXB is what?
Actually, I don't have the numbers with me. There's another product manager handles it, but it's a symmetrical service that offers higher speeds for uplink.
So the answer on that is that we do have services within the internet portfolio that offer upload speed. And, it's interesting. I don't know who the question came from, but there are some power users. As I look at the industries involved on the attendee list, there are some power users. There's some legal offices. There are some creative offices. There are some folks that do a lot of file transfer of CAD drawings and engineering specs, and those are the things that when we come across them, they're huge files. A lot of times just to transmit a portion of it is a task in and of itself. So we understand that upload is a critical component to that. So the truth is that the business internet product only goes up to 1 meg upload at this point. But across the product spectrum, if the upload requirement is greater than that, there's definitely an option for that. And at that point, it becomes a little bit more of a custom implementation, but that's something that can definitely be done. Okay.
So we have another question that asked about the guarantees that we give. What are those in particular? So we guarantee that you get the speed that you're purchasing.
Yes.
So let's be specific about that.
Yes.
The guarantee, and it's not a formal guarantee. I have to be very cautious about this because I don't want to overcommit to something we don't do. But the guarantee is at time of installation, what happens is that our technician who installs the service, they'll speed test it. And once they speed test that service, they'll make sure that the speed that they're asking for, the speed that they're paying for, is what the speed is that's being achieved. And if we're not achieving that speed at that time, we won't charge you for it. That's really the commitment. It's a commitment on install. Obviously, our quality of service has the component that at any given time it's 90%, which is a little bit better than what the industry average is. The industry average is about 80%.
FCC and our competition generally specify their speeds to within 80%. We specify ours to 90.
So we have another question here, and it's how do upgrades work? So if you have a package, a 5 meg package, and you need to upgrade it, how long does it take? What is the implication of that?
A pure speed upgrade should happen the next business day. There may be a necessity if you wanted to add Wi-Fi, for example, that we would swap out a router, and I believe that would also happen in the next business day.
So let me clarify. If you have a DSL modem at your location right now, and you are totally okay with that, we go in and check out if you can use that with our service. And if not, we give you another modem, that pretty thing with the wireless built-in thing.
Yeah, actually, we don't have to check. We know what modem you have, and
okay.
If the new speed is all that's required and the current modem you have is capable of it, we just turn it up. And likewise, if we determine that you need Wi-Fi or you need a speed beyond the capability of the modem you have today, we swap it out. Both of these should be accomplished within the next business day.
That sounds good. So I think we move on to the fun part of this webinar, the drawing for the Kindle Fire. And let's announce the winner. The winner is Rusty Music. Congratulations, Rusty. We will get in contact with you and make arrangements. Thank you again for all the great questions and the participation in this webinar. We hope it was informative to you and hope to welcome you soon to our next webinar. Thank you very much. This concludes today's webinar presentation. Thank you.